I've lived in this small New York apartment since 1982. It's a tight little space. One bedroom with walls so thin I can hear the neighbors coughing through them. The paint peels in long, curling strips like sunburned skin, and the single window offers nothing but a view of a grimy brick wall across the alley. It's not much of a home, but it's mine. I was in my early 30s back then, single, scraping by on odd shifts at a greasy diner down the street. I'd pour coffee for truckers, their heavy boots, scuffing the cracked linoleum serve plates of runny eggs to bleary-eyed regulars who tipped in loose change. Valentine's Day 1983 rolled in cold and wet, and that's when it all started. Something I can't explain, something that's clung to me like damp air ever since. That day the rain came down hard. It pounded the windows, relentless, drumming against the glass, keeping me pinned inside. I didn't have any plans, no date waiting for me, no fancy dinner lined up. I didn't mind, though. I liked the quiet. I stood in my tiny kitchen, the linoleum cold under my socks, and made a pot of tea. The kettle whistled shrill, cutting through the rain's hum, and I watched the steam twist upward from the chipped mug I'd owned since forever. I grabbed a romance novel I'd borrowed from the library down the block, its pages dog-eared and yellowed, half-red and curling at the edges. A friend had stopped by earlier that week, handed me a red heart card with a crooked grin. "Happy Valentine's," she'd said, tossing it onto my table. "Don't be a hermit." I'd smiled, taped it to the fridge with a strip of yellowed tape, figured it was enough festivity for me. I sank into the couch, a sagging thing with springs poking through, tea in hand. Rain pattered outside, steady and unyielding. The old rotary phone sat on the table, black heavy, its cord coiled like a snake. It stayed silent all night until 11 p.m. The ring hit me like a jolt, shrill piercing the rain's drone. I jumped. Tea sloshing over the mug's edge onto my lap, soaking through my worn pajama pants. I cursed under my breath. Set the cup down on the table, where it left a wet ring on the scratched wood. I reached for the receiver, its cold plastic, heavy in my hand. "Hello?" I said, voice rough, expecting maybe my friend checking in. Maybe a wrong number. Nothing came back, just faint breathing. Steady, rhythmic, like a pulse ticking through the line. I frowned brow. Creasing, "Hello?" I tried again. Silence. That breathing didn't stop. I hung up the receiver, clacking loud in the quiet room. Shrugged. "Wrong number," I muttered to myself, voice flat. Sat back, picked up the novel, its pages damp from my wet fingers. 5 minutes later, it rang again. Same thing. Breathing. No words. My skin prickled, a chill crawling up my arms like tiny needles. The third time I lost it. "Who's this?" I barked, voice sharp, edging into anger. Silence filled the line first, then the breathing swelled louder, closer, like it was right there, pressing against the phone. I could almost feel it, warm, damp air brushing my ear. I slammed the receiver down so hard the table shook, yanked the cord from the wall with a jerk. My heart raced, pounding loud in my chest, thudding against my ribs. I stood up fast, checked the door, locked tight, the deadbolt cold under my fingers. Windows. Shut. Tight. The latches rusted, but firm. Rain kept falling outside, a steady hiss against the glass. But I didn't feel safe anymore. I paced the tiny room, socks whispering on the floor. Lights on bright, glaring off the peeling walls. I stared at the phone, its black bulk silent. Now morning. Came slow gray light, seeping through the curtains. I found it then, a Valentine's card under the door. No name, just a red heart drawn in thick ink, wet, dripping like blood. My hands shook, fingers trembling as I held it. Next year it happened again, calls breathing, then the card. Same heart, same ink, wet and red. I stopped answering after that first ring. Unplugged the phone every February, kept it coiled in a drawer. Still the card came, slipped under the door like clockwork. I'd wake to the sound of rain, find it there waiting. I'd hold it, stare at that heart, feel my pulse quicken. I moved in 85, new place, new number, a little studio across town with cleaner walls and a better view. Thought I'd left it behind, got a new job at a different diner, traded coffee pots for a cashier gig. Settled in, kept my head down, avoided thinking about that old apartment. Night after night, I'd lock the door, check the windows, tell myself it was over. But I was wrong. It wasn't over. Last Valentine's, my new phone rang. Once sharp cutting through the quiet, the screen lit up, glowing blue in the dark, my old number. The one from that apartment. I stared at it. Hands cold, palms sweaty, didn't answer. Haven't touched it since. Who's calling? From where? I don't know. Every Valentine's, I wait. Phone off, unplugged, shoved in a drawer. Doors locked tight, windows latched. I still hear that breathing in my head. Low, steady, like it's waiting. See that heart-red, wet ink bleeding into my dreams. It's there. Always. I don't sleep easy anymore. Keep the lights on all night, the bulb buzzing faint overhead. Wonder if it'll stop or find me again. I sit up late. Listen to the rain, try to shake it, but it's part of me now.